What if you spent 10 years showing up for people who never truly saw you? Every summer looked perfect on the outside. Luxury cabins by a quiet lake, pine trees swaying, long tables set for family dinners, luggage rolling across polished floors, laughter floating through private halls like nothing in the world could be wrong. Traditions repeated so often they felt permanent. And yet, in the middle of all that comfort, one pattern never changed. Someone always handled the small things, refilling drinks, straightening chairs, carrying extra plates, cleaning up after conversations that weren't theirs, not staff, not quite family either, just useful. No one said it out loud. That's what made it harder to name. There were no insults, no open disrespect, just soft assignments. Can you grab the napkins? Thanks, sweetheart. You're so organized we'd be lost without you. Friendly words, polite tone. But repetition tells the truth. You're remembered for service, not presence. Included for effort, not identity. Conversations slide past you. Achievements shrink into nice little work. Your name disappears when stories get retold. And the strangest part? The role gets assigned without your permission. No one asks if you want it. They just hand it to you like a tray you're expected to carry. At first, you try to earn your place. You host gatherings. You remember milestones. You arrive early. You stay late, still invisible. And the person closest to you doesn't see it either. They mean well. They're just used to how things are. Comfort becomes camouflage, so you adjust. You soften your voice. You make yourself smaller. Until one quiet moment changes the question in your head. Not, what did I do wrong? But, why am I waiting for permission to matter? That thought doesn't explode. It settles, calm, certain. Final, not revenge, not drama, a decision to build something that can't be overlooked. Something with weight, something with a name on it, because real power doesn't argue for space, it owns it. My name is Camille Drayton, and the family that treated me like background noise. They were about to spend their favorite summer tradition inside something that legally belonged to me. They just didn't know it yet. The shift didn't start at the resort. It began with one phone call the very next morning. Disrespect rarely crashes in like a storm. It settles quietly, like dust in the air, so slowly you don't see it collecting, until one day you realize you've been breathing it for years. Same gatherings, same people, same invisible script running underneath every conversation. You become the dependable one, the one who adjusts plans, fills the gaps, smooths awkward moments before they surface. It looks generous. It feels like disappearing. No one announces your role. There's no vote, no decision. It forms through repetition, and repetition is powerful. When something happens often enough, people stop questioning it, including you, so you adapt. You laugh when jokes land a little too close. You nod when conversations skip past your work. You say yes to small requests because saying no feels heavier than compliance. The role wasn't forced on you. You cooperated with it. And the people closest to you don't see the pattern, not because they're cruel, because comfort is blinding. They didn't mean it like that. You're reading too much into it. That's just how our family works. Explanations become anesthesia. You stop correcting, stop reacting, eventually stop expecting, until one moment snaps the rhythm. Last summer, same lake, same long dinner table. A casual joke drifted across the plates about how I still drove the same car after nearly a decade. Someone laughed and asked if I was secretly hoarding money for a bunker somewhere. The table laughed, so did my husband, and something inside me went completely still, not embarrassed, not angry, aware. Aware that I had been shrinking to fit a space that was never designed to hold me. That night, I sat alone on a balcony overlooking the water. Lights shimmered across the lake. Voices echoed faintly through the trees. For years, my question had been, how do I fit better? That night it changed to, why am I trying to fit at all? The shift was quiet, clean, final, not revenge, alignment. If I wasn't going to be seen inside their structure, I would build my own, something permanent, something undeniable, something no one could politely dismiss. The next morning, before breakfast, I picked up my phone and called someone I hadn't spoken to in years, a former colleague who now specialized in high-value property acquisitions. She answered on the second ring. I said 4 words. I want to buy something. A pause, then a measured reply. What kind of something? I didn't say it yet, but I already knew the answer would decide who owned every future summer. The call didn't feel dramatic. No rush, no cinematic moment, just clarity. Within weeks, doubt turned into documents. Property briefs, ownership records, performance reports. Quiet, deliberate work, the kind I'd built my career on. I didn't tell my husband. Not yet. This wasn't secrecy, it was focus. For once, I wanted a decision that didn't get softened by comfort or filtered through someone else's lens. We reviewed properties across the country, coastal resorts, private retreats, legacy estates with polished reputations and fragile foundations. Some were flashy but hollow, some profitable but forgettable. Then one file reached my inbox. A familiar name. The lakeside resort where the family gathered every summer. The same docks. The same dining hall. The same place treated like inherited ground. On paper, it looked stable. In reality, it was worn. Rising costs. Aging systems. Owners losing momentum. A strong reputation carried more by tradition than management. Opportunity hides inside nostalgia. You're not just buying land, my colleague said quietly. You're buying the setting of their certainty. That was the moment it settled. This wasn't symbolism. It was leverage. I moved carefully, sold part of my portfolio, exited a dormant equity stake, redirected long-built investments earned through years of disciplined work. No flashy risks, no emotional spending, just capital meeting timing. We structured the purchase through a holding company, private, efficient, discreet. My name stayed off anything that didn't require it. Let the change arrive before the explanation. 6 weeks later, the deal closed. I visited alone at sunrise. Mist hovered over the lake, wood cool beneath my hand. Staff preparing for guests who didn't yet know ownership had shifted. I walked the dining hall slowly. No anger, no victory lap, just stillness. Control isn't loud, it settles. Within days, operations tightened. Staff wages improved, contracts reviewed, and one quiet policy update took effect. Legacy privileges ended. No automatic discounts, no silent upgrades, no inherited exceptions. Policies now applied evenly. The complaints followed right on cue, group chats, side comments. It's not the same. New management doesn't understand. I read every message and said nothing, because by then, the stage was mine. They were already planning their next summer, unaware they were returning to a place where their last name meant nothing. By the time summer returned, everything was ready, policies updated, systems aligned, staff prepared. The structure didn't need drama, only timing. The family arrived as they always did, confident, relaxed, carrying tradition like ownership. Luggage at the entrance, sunglasses, air kisses, the quiet assumption that the best rooms and the usual privileges were waiting. Reservations were honored, at full rate, no automatic upgrades, no legacy discounts, no quiet exceptions. I signed off on it personally. No one noticed. I walked past the front desk without checking in, exchanging a few words with the general manager while reviewing a schedule on my tablet. To anyone watching, it looked routine. A guest asking questions, someone lingering, that was fine. At brunch the next morning, the complaints arrived on cue. The staff feels distant. Valet's slower this year. It used to feel warmer. I stirred my coffee while they discussed the resort like it had let them down. Then my husband added lightly, "No soul anymore, too many policies." I looked at him and felt something settle. He still didn't know who he was sitting beside. That evening was the welcome dinner, candlelight, soft music, careful plating. Predictable setting, predictable hierarchy. Midway through the meal, talk turned to renovations and management. Opinions come easily when people believe the room belongs to them. Then my mother-in-law raised her glass. With a polished smile, she said, "I just hope the new owners understand that families like ours built this place's reputation." Murmurs of agreement circled the table. That was the moment. Quiet, exact. After dessert, I stepped onto the terrace. The lake lay still beneath the moonlight. I made one call. "It's time." Minutes later, the general manager tapped a spoon gently against his glass. Conversations faded. He thanked the guests and announced the resort had entered a new chapter under new majority ownership. Then he said my name. Silence, not confusion. Recognition rearranging itself. I walked back in slowly, heels steady against the floor, and took the microphone. Every face turned. Every assumption waiting. They expected a polite introduction. What they received was a correction. I took the microphone with steady hands. No smile, no performance, just clarity. "Thank you for being part of this place for so many years," I said. "For the traditions, the memories, the loyalty." A brief pause. This resort has always been about belonging, and that's exactly why some things needed to change. Calm, measured. Under updated ownership, guest policies now apply equally. No legacy discounts, no automatic upgrades, no informal arrangements. Silverware stilled, eyes sharpened. Every guest is welcome, every guest is valued, every guest is treated the same. Plain words, no edge. If you have suggestions about operations, you can bring them directly to me. I handed back the microphone and stepped away. No applause, no objections, just the heavy silence of a room recalibrating. The next morning, I skipped brunch. There was nothing left to perform. I walked the property with the general manager instead, maintenance logs, staff plans, upgrades in motion. Work that lasts longer than speeches. 2 housekeepers thanked me for the wage increases and better break rooms. I thanked them back. Respect should move both ways. By midday, messages arrived. Polite, curious, warmer than before. Requests to talk, invitations to reconnect. I replied when needed, professionally, briefly. My mother-in-law called twice. I let it ring. My husband came in person. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. I held his gaze. "Why didn't you ever ask?" He had no answer. That afternoon, I shared the resort's next chapter with partners, expanded programs, community spaces, and a new initiative named after my mother, who cleaned motel rooms for years and taught me that respect is earned through work, not inherited through comfort. This wasn't a takeover, it was alignment. Weeks later, my husband moved out quietly. No fight, just a note: "I didn't see you, I should have." I kept it, not for sentiment, for clarity. Because closure doesn't always arrive as an apology. Sometimes it arrives as ownership. Quiet, earned, final. I never asked for a seat at their table again. I didn't need to. I owned the room, and everything inside it.